If you just started to edit videos, you might have realized that it's pretty grueling, both learning to edit and editing itself. As someone who's been editing videos since 2017, I can tell you that both of those are gonna get easier. Here's why. Let's start with when you learn to edit. This kinda depends on what you edit on, but the program you use might have an overwhelming amount of settings, features, tools, hotkeys, the screen filled with 100 different buttons. However, at the very beginning, it's just for the best to completely ignore those, because 90% of the stuff I learned with HitFilm was through me just wanting to create something and looking up a tutorial to bring that idea to life. The steps I took to create those things I could later use to do other stuff. I think this is a lot better way to approach it compared to just watching a lot of tutorials with no clear intentions, or even if you follow those tutorials. With one exception, which is that you have just started, you're at the very beginning, and you can't really do anything without reaching a dead end. Why do I think this is better? Well, when you work on something you want to work on, it's more fun. It also forces you to think, unlike if you're just repeating steps from a tutorial. This way I also get better at problem solving, which goes without saying is super important. In case you haven't decided on what program to get, I will mention one in this video, but I won't be giving like a deep dive, but there's like loads of videos about it, so just search it, you'll find it. So basically in conclusion, don't try to learn everything all at once. Instead focus on using the program as much as you can in your own way. When you do come across a problem, just search the internet for help. So let's say you're already quite good at using one program, but you're contemplating on switching. Should you do it? Yes. I can tell from my own experience that it's worth it. Because even though the switch has had its own challenges, it wasn't nearly as painful as I imagined. At times it has actually been kinda exciting. It feels like when you switch to a lot more powerful program, it just opens so many possibilities. I just feel like the main character who's looking towards the horizon, wondering what the future will bring. By the way, I only mean switching to a program that is better than the current one. Because like, if you're planning on switching from DaVinci Resolve to OpenShot, then you need your brains checked out. I don't think it's crazy to think that most of these big video editing software providers want to get as many people as possible used to their programs, so they can keep making it more expensive while not innovating as much, while their users are too scared to switch because of how far they've gotten at using the program. Meanwhile, Adobe or whoever maximizes their profits. So I came down to the realization that it would put me in a much better spot if I knew how to edit on at least 2 programs. The reason I picked DaVinci Resolve is that it kinda just feels like the next big thing, which means that finding help or presets will get much easier, since there will be a much bigger demand for it, meaning more stuff. And also because I feel like when I started editing on like more complex programs, it was a very good decision, because most of the stuff that I wanna make has something to do with video editing, whether that would be a school project, personal project, or this video you're watching. Let's talk about the process of editing. We all edit different kinds of stuff. Some take long to edit and some even longer. Question that most of us are drooling for answer is, how can you make this at times tedious task more appealing? Well, first I want to remind you that the more you do something, the more your brain gets used to doing it. It sort of becomes part of your routine. All the boring parts like selecting clips, cutting voiceover, etc. will be done in autopilot. It will also become part of your identity, which definitely makes a difference. I usually hate when people's answer is, I know the answer but I can't explain it. But in this case I can't explain it either, why something becomes easier and more natural to do when it's part of who you are, but it's true. Secondly, if doing a project doesn't interest you, try thinking of ways to make it more fun. It's not like editing has to be fun, because it's pretty much like work. But it can still be that, and when it is, it makes such a big difference in your work rate and your mood. This applies to other situations as well, but ask yourself, what would this look like if it were easy? One reason you might find it hard to keep editing is that you aren't fully confident that the video will turn out good enough. You're afraid of spending hours editing something only to get a pathetic end result. I usually fix this by asking myself, what's wrong with this video? For example, this video you're watching right now had the same issue. I didn't feel like my first draft of the script had enough value. So, what did I do? I took a couple steps back and went back to the script. Sometimes it's for the best to backtrack with your project. If you write scripts and you're like me, you probably want to be done with it and move on as soon as possible, just to get this project out of the door. But I urge you to take your time next time, because you might remember something else to add, which could improve your video and make editing the video more fun. Or maybe you're just working on something that doesn't interest you even a tiny bit. Unless finishing the project isn't necessary, I would ask myself some questions if I were you. Unfinished projects used to bother me a lot. Like, I had a Minecraft short film, Minecraft custom map, Lego stop motion short film, I vlogged for a month in 2020, and a Star Wars comic. You know, after a while I just realized this one thing, and that made me not that bothered about this anymore. Which is that most creative people you know also have plenty of projects that they will never finish. However, even though all of your effort that you put into that project isn't thrown away, because you must have learned something, it's still good to finish projects most of the time, because finishing projects is like a habit you can build. So the more you do it, the easier it gets the next time. Dealing with distractions. If you have a hard time focusing, see what triggers you. Is it the browser on your taskbar? Hide the taskbar. Is it when you try to find music to listen to as you edit, but it ends up taking a lot longer than it should have to find the right song or the right playlist? By the way, listening to something while editing is not something I recommend unless you're doing something like masking. Another scenario where you might be drawn elsewhere is when you go find a sound effect or background music for your YouTube video from YouTube, but there's an interesting video on the home feed. How I fix this is by using this extension called Unhook, which you can set to hide the home feed, for example. A very good productivity hack I've recently started using is this. When you wake up, first thing you do, start working. When I do it then, working almost feels kind of fun. It's almost like your brain's expectations of how fun something should be resets when you wake up. So yeah, this is why you shouldn't sleep with your phone, because it will still be there in the morning and it will make sure to derail your day. After you watch like an hour of YouTube shorts, do you think you want to start working? No! As much as I would like to say that I have completely conquered all of my distractions, it's not the case. I just wanted to say this because too many creators present themselves like they never have difficulties focusing, which logically speaking is very unlikely. They just avoid mentioning it because they want to seem credible to everyone else. Otherwise their teachings could be questioned. But I just want to say that I'm much better at getting videos done than I was like a year and a half ago. So this is not all doom and gloom. Keep improving and you'll get better. I think I'm already starting to feel the benefits, because I started thinking more about my channel and the work I should put in, so I could share the results.